sex, guys, and videotape. Epstein accuser claims blank had sex tapes of Trump, Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Richard Branson. New doc. Whoa. All right, so I just saw this and I said, I got to do a video on it because I think this is crazy. For those of you who don't know, there was a lawsuit against Epstein, the woman, Maxwell. And during that lawsuit, everything was sealed about, what was going on. A federal judge decided to unseal a lot of stuff because the case was over. And now all these documents have become public. So they've been dropping over the past couple of days since last week. We saw some names were surprises, but there were some allegations. Most of the stuff that were coming out, essentially everybody had already known. This is new stuff. Because we didn't know about any blank tapes with people being on them. So let's just, I'm just going to read the article here to see what the hell's going on. A Jeffrey Epstein accuser once claimed former President Donald Trump allegedly had sexual relations with one of the unnamed friends at the late blank New York home on regular occasions. So an accuser claimed that, and this is regular occasions, according to another trove of court documents unsealed Monday. Sarah Ransom, in a string of emails in 2016, also claimed that she had copies of tapes Epstein had made of some of the high-profile friends. That sounds like a blackmail. That's a honeypot. Sounds like a blackmail scheme. This including Trump. So he says he has tapes of Trump, Clinton, Prince Andrew, and British business magnate Richard Branson. Wow. Allegedly having sex with an unnamed woman. She confided in me about her casual friendship with Donald. Mr. Trump definitely seemed to have a thing for her. And she told me how he kept going on about how he liked her. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is too hot for YouTube. Ransom wrote about her friend in one of the emails made public when the last batch of newly unsealed documents dropped. So, oof. Now, with the Trump stuff, just to be fair, this is a third-party account. What do I mean by that? This woman is saying that someone else told her this stuff about Trump. So allegedly, another victim is telling this victim about things she did with Trump. So this is a hearsay account, and for some of you are going to believe this is obviously true. Some of you believe this is obviously false, whatever. But just to put it in context, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a third-party account through hearsay. I also know she had sexual relations with Trump at Jeffrey's New York mansion on a regular occasion, she added. But again, she says so that's a question that now, if you got good lawyers, how do you know? Did you see anything? You're saying I know, but what does that mean, right? How could you know? Were you there? That type of thing. So, but again, this still sounds like hearsay accounts. It sounds like a third-party account. Ransom walked back the salacious allegations in a October 23, 2016 email with a Post columnist writing, "I would like to retract everything I have said to you and walk away from this," according to the filings. So she made all these allegations. Then she sent an email out retracting everything. That's interesting. Now, does this make the allegations? It's salacious, but now it puts them in jeopardy. And one thing I'll also say too, again, obviously this is Trump-centric. The New York Post, I'm surprised they're very Trump-centric. You're probably going to hear about everybody else later. But generally, a lot of times victims do recant their statements, making it even harder for prosecutors to essentially convict people like this, because the first thing the person is going to say is, look, they said I did it, then they said they didn't do it. Which is it? So it's a common occurrence in this space. So it's not shocking, but it does hurt the credibility of this person making the claims if they, come out later and say they retract those claims. She added that only bad things and pain for my family would come from going public. So now that gives you the motive of why she's retracting the claims, because she's afraid for her safety and her family's safety. In 2019, Ransom admitted in a New Yorker article that she invented the tapes to draw attention to Epstein's behavior. Now, it's funny because when you listen to a lot of the news media who are covering this, they're not talking about she's saying how she made up this allegation. And that's why you got to read everything. See, the headline's explosive. Oh, they're tapes, they're tapes, they're tapes. Now you're down like 4 paragraphs and she's now talking about, well, I invented these tapes, right? Matter of fact, check this out. Now, here is News Nation. And look at their headline. Their headline says, Epstein accuser says she has Clinton, Prince Andrew, Branson sex tapes. News Nation now. But as you just saw, she recanted that. She said she made that up. Let's see how they cover it.
Breaking news. New allegations of sex tapes by Jeffrey Epstein accuser Sarah Ransom in newly released court documents. Ransom claiming her friend was having sex with former President Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew on separate occasions. And another friend had a sexual relationship with former President Donald Trump. News Nation's Alex Capriello is in our newsroom. Alex, with these latest bombshell allegations.
Yeah, the big bombshell here in this latest release is that there could be video evidence of alleged inappropriate sexual relations taken to former President Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and media mogul Richard Branson. In an unsealed deposition given by Jeffrey Epstein victim.
Now, like this, new documents allege Epstein accuser had sex tapes. But you hear nothing. We hear nothing about she recanting these things.
Sarah Ransom, she testified that an unnamed friend, quote, had sexual intercourse with Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Richard Branson on separate occasions. Ransom testified under oath that Jeffrey Epstein filmed these encounters and that she herself had later seen the tapes and also has copies of them. She also said,
you see my confusion here? So now they're not giving you obviously the whole story. They're supposed to give you the full story. She says she has these tapes. Now, she said this under oath, which makes me think that, hey, if you're saying this under oath, then there's some problem if you're lying. But people lie under oath all the time. Amber Heard, for instance, she lied under oath all the time. But now, fast forward to after she's given that testimony, is she's telling everybody that she lied, made it up, and she made up the whole thing that she had the tapes. So which is it? Which is it, right? This account just doesn't seem as credible as it did when it first, when you see the headlines, like, oh my God, there is, it seems so much less credible now that we got a little bit more into the details. So Trump advisor Stephen Coing said in a statement Monday, these baseless accusations have been fully retracted, which is true, because they are simply false and have no merit. Clinton's rep Angela Uriah declined to comment Monday. The Virgin Group spokesman, that's Richard Branson's company, told the Post in a New York report published in 2019, Ransom admitted that she had, quote, invented the tapes. We can confirm that Sarah Ransom's claims are baseless and unfounded. Ransom, who has been living abroad since at least 2017 and is now living in London, never produced the alleged tapes, right? So, no, she says she has the tapes, but the tapes never showed up. She didn't immediately return requests for comment Monday. Emails were filed in a since settled defamation case that Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, aka Virginia Roberts, who had brought claims against sicko Madam Ghislaine Maxwell in 2015. The messages were disclosed as former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz's lawyers were seeking to undermine Ransom's claims, arguing that she manifestly lacks credibility. He's right. She does. She lacks a lot of credibility. Dershowitz, Epstein's one-time lawyer, had been accused by Giuffre of sexually abusing her in a lawsuit and since dropped, admitting she may have made a mistake. So all these victims are making these allegations. Then they're going and retracting these claims. And the one that says, I have the tape, when pushed, produced no tapes. This is just a hype story. This is just a story to hype people up just to get you to click. There's no substance here. She said she had tapes. She couldn't produce any tapes. She said this happened, but she said it did happen. Who do you believe? Who do you believe? In a letter to the judge at the time, Dershowitz's legal team had argued that if Ransom's deposition were to be made public, her emails should too, because without the added context, her unrebutted testimony will gravely prejudice Dershowitz by publishing deliberate lies calculated to harm his reputation. Dershowitz is right. Dershowitz is right. He's right. A deposition transcript standing alone leaves an incomplete and thus false impression Ms. Ransom and her outrageous claims, the letter read. Now, it's tough with this thing because we know this is what Epstein was doing, right? We know people were doing this on the Epstein Island. But now it's trying to figure out who's really was doing it, who really wasn't doing it, what's the truth of the matter. It's crazy. And that's why you try to stay away from situations like this. Because if you're involved in this, like Clinton, he's even got pictures of him getting a massage and stuff like that. If you're involved in all this stuff, even tacitly, even though people say guilt by association, it's essentially that's what it is. And I think a lot of these people are kind of unfortunately, this is just how it is, you know. But as you saw with that News Nation, they didn't even mention the fact that these claims were retracted. That's the news media wanting to be first instead of being correct. The court should not allow its power to enter and modify a protective order to be manipulated so as to authorize selective disclosure of decontextualized materials. If the ransom deposition is made public, the emails must also be and I think it's true, right? If you let that deposition out, you gotta let the emails out that says she recanted everything. It wouldn't make sense to put one out and then have everybody, but then it seems like everybody read the deposition and no one read the emails. The 17 documents, including 327 pages released Monday, add to the avalanche of information that has emerged in recent days, detailing how the late blank leveraged his connections to the rich, powerful, and famous to recruit young girls and cover up his crimes. In addition to high-profile names, the documents contains accounts of some of Epstein's victims, as well as those who once worked for the late financier. The accused also claim there are tapes of Donald Trump, so as you can see, let's put this out there and just get everybody to click. They got me to click it, right? But as you can see, it's not as you would think it was based on the headline. Clinton and Trump must pay for what they did to us, as must the rest of the men that were involved in their seedy inner circle. Exhibit for ransom. My friend had sexual intercourse with Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Richard Branson's sex tapes were in fact filmed on each separate occasion. I eventually managed to persuade her to send me some of the video footage, which I kept, implicating all three men. I have backed up the footage on several USB sticks and have secretly sent them to various different locations throughout Europe. The ransom said it again. Another friend was one of the many girls that had sexual relations with Donald Trump. She confided in me about her casual friendship with Donald. Mr. Trump definitely seemed to have a thing for her, and she told me that he kept going on and on about her blank. Donald Trump liked, and then it's redacted. Sarah, these were her claims. Among the details to emerge in the newly unsealed docs released last week were allegedly that Prince Andrew spent weeks at Epstein's Palm Beach, Florida mansion, where the disgraced royal would receive daily massages. A girl identified only as Jane Doe accused the Duke of York engaging in unpleasantness with underage girls during one of those stays on Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, according to a court filing. So I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. I think this is a nothing story. I think what Dersh said is correct. If you're going to release these documents, then you have to allow the other documents to come out. It just makes sense. You literally have someone who said all this, couldn't show that she had any of this stuff, and then recanted and said she made everything up. So I think it's irresponsible that some of the news media is running with this story without that full context. That context really matters, and I think Alan Dershowitz is right, where you put something out like this and people are going to just assume that all this stuff is right and not knowing the full context of it. And I feel sorry for the guy, because if he's being wrongly accused, then this is not going to help. And you see how some of the news, you probably have seen it already, how some of the news, blah, 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 the headlines are crazy. Matter of fact, the headline in this video is probably going to see something like this. But when you click on it, I'm glad that I'm able to give you the full context of the situation, so you can see that just the news media, they make money if people read their story first, because the faster you get the story out, the more people are going to read it. But it's more important for them to be first than to be correct, right? Mistakes can be made, but that first, being the first to get the story out, that's the thing that actually gets you the most money. But I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comment section, because now that you know the full context of these tapes, do you agree? Do you think these tapes are, the smoking gun against, remember, it's Clinton, it's Trump, it's Prince Andrew, it's Richard Branson? I got serious doubts, especially since the victim has said, you can't, if I had to convict somebody based on what I've heard, beyond a reasonable doubt, no, I have reasonable doubts. I have a lot of reasonable doubts. So that's how I feel about it. But let me know how you feel in the comment section. Let me know if you think I'm being too sinister with this, or you think I'm thinking too much into it, because sometimes I do think too much into these things. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you next one. Peace.